You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch TV about how, sometimes just like the pop songs say, love just isn't enough. Joey is the most annoying at this point in this show. I really forgot how much I hated her at this point.
And because you've seen most of this show, the levels of annoying that Joey can be.
I can't believe that's a true statement.
Yeah.
I'm at the end of season 5. Not completely at the end. I'm close to the end of season 5.
When you start season 6, let me know. I think I'm going to watch season 6 along with you.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I'm Jodie.
I'm Andrea.
And we are on our Halloween month. Mm-hmm. I have no clever name. Our month of Halloween episodes.
I think that's a great way to describe it.
I mean, it's an accurate way to describe it. And we did
back to the creek.
Yeah, I know.
Can you believe it?
I really can't. I can't. The fact
just
that
to remind listeners, we went back to the creek per your suggestion.
I don't understand what's happening, and I'm upset by it. But
it's a true joy of my life that the show has stuck with you so much.
I don't know what's happening. I literally last night rewatched the episode that we're going to talk about, Escape from Witch Island. Mm-hmm. Season 3, episode something?
7.
Episode 7.
Season 3, episode 7.
And then before I went to bed, I watched one more episode of season 5. I don't know. I don't know.
I get it, obviously.
I know. I'm not sure I do. But it's happening, and I've accepted it, and, I'm going to see it through. I definitely had a little bit of a lull when they first moved to Boston during that transition time. I was like, I don't know.
I get it. Season 6 does have some of my favorite episodes, though.
Yeah. Well, apparently there's one coming that I'm supposed to know that I've watched once I've watched it. So that will be interesting.
You'll know.
Yeah, you keep saying that. We'll see. But the reason that we are starting with this one, is because I am, as we just mentioned, still watching Dawson's Creek somehow. After all of the shows we've talked about, it's the only one that I hadn't seen that I'm still watching. I did re-watch full, series runs of other shows we've talked about. Mm-hmm. Like after we talked about 6 Feet Under, I went back and watched all 5 seasons, which is just, I don't know how I did that, but I did. And there were a few others that we watched. I rewatched all of Severance and all of Silo. I mean, those were only one season each. But
all of Station 11, even though it's
all of Station 11, right? That's the other one. So they were all one season, but I did go back, and you watched Station 11. You had already watched Silo. Mm-hmm. I watched all of Fallout. That's another one.
Oh, me too, yeah.
And I think I rewatched Last of Us. No wonder I can't get anything done. No wonder I'm scrambling today to get ready for class tomorrow. Jesus.
Well, yeah, but you have more important stuff to do, like watch every episode of Dawson's Creek.
Good God.
Including Escape to Witch Island.
Escape from Witch Island or to Witch Island?
It's Escape from Witch Island.
Escape from Witch Island.
You know why I keep doing that? Because of Escape to Witch Mountain. Mm-hmm. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Escape from Witch Island.
I hope this starts a new part of this podcast where I start correcting you on Dawson's Creek facts. I don't know.
Becomes the teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the reason we started with this one, like I said, is partly because of the fact that I am watching Dawson's Creek still. But also just because we did Blair Witch not that long ago, last fall. Holy shit.
Is that true?
Yeah, because it was
a Halloween one, right?
I was in Wyoming.
Yeah.
When I watched it. And that was October, November.
Yeah, it was one of our Halloween episodes.
Yeah, that was October, November.
Right? Didn't we do all scary movies?
I think so. You think I'd remember. I don't. But yeah, I know where I was when I watched it because I was in a cabin in rural Wyoming alone. And it still didn't scare me. But so, yeah, this is a fun sort of meta ripoff of a ripoff of a ripoff of Blair Witch. This is one of those episodes where it's just a full on love fest for movies from the start.
It's interesting because it's not like they knew really what a lasting effect. I mean, we could probably guess because it was such a cultural phenomenon.
Huge
in the 90s, but there are a lot of cultural phenomena that we
Yeah, but when you think about how focused this whole show is on Dawson's obsession with movies, like this had to be something that he would
quick turnaround.
Yes. Yes. Although I was, not to derail us so quickly, but I was watching the Halloween episode of another show that I won't mention right now that we might do this month, and there was reference to Kurt Cobain's death, and it hadn't happened that much earlier. So it's fast.
So crazy.
It's
how
fast
these shows, especially now when we're like,
well, now we have to wait 2 years for a show to come out. Like, it can't comment on anything in the news unless it's like, they have to actually bake the shit.
Exactly. I have a lot to say about the timing and what was going on behind the scenes on Dawson's Creek and all of that.
Okay.
With this episode specifically, but maybe we should do our episode recap first.
Yeah, let's try not to get too in the weeds with it, just because I know that it's very easy for us to do that. I took a lot of notes about what was happening just because I wanted to have touch points, but I don't think we need to go into crazy detail. But let's see what happens. So we're in the video store. Dawson's wearing his little vest with his little pins on it. I love the vest with the pins. It's very Office Space. He only had 2 pieces of flair, so he's clearly slacking. But Joey comes in because she needs to rent the Crucible for her paper.
Everything about that. I know that so much of why I love these shows is the nostalgia, as we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
But the feeling of hoping a video store has something that I need to rent, and then because they're such a small town, somebody else she knows has already gotten to it
because they didn't read the book either. And also, it's not a book; it's a play. She refers to it as a book. The one thing I noted, I found something about this on the internet because I wrote down that behind her is a poster for Idle Hands, which came out in '99. Did you see this little bit of background about that poster? You probably already know what I'm going to say, but the director of that film directed the Dawson's Creek episode, The Scare.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm learning things. You look so proud of me.
I am proud. There's also a poster. This is our Jersey connection.
Is it?
Not that poster. There's another poster.
No, I know what poster you're talking about because I was like, what?
It says beer, pornos, thievery, Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, what is going on here? Here, like I said, this is our Jersey connection. It is very thin, but I'm just excited to have a Jersey connection, Dawson's Creek. That is the tagline for a documentary called Jeff Town, which is about a guy named Jeff Town. And the summary is he's a beer drinking, porno consuming, wrestling fanatic with Down syndrome. He lies, he cheats, he steals, and he fondles women. In short, he's a lot more like the rest of us than we care to admit. And so it's like an hour-long documentary about this guy, Jeff. It was released by Troma. And Troma Films are also responsible for The Toxic Avenger.
Right. I was like, why do I know that name?
And The Toxic Avenger is a superhero based in
New Jersey.
From New Jersey.
Yes.
So we've done it.
Okay.
And also just to put a little ease on people seeing that truly wild poster and wondering why Dawson's Creek put it up, but it's just because that's what would have been out at the time.
Right.
And
especially in an indie video store.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So. I did notice that poster. I did mean to look it up and then I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
he's from Ohio though. I was hoping the guy would be from Jersey, but he's not.
That's always so disappointing.
Yeah. So disappointing when people aren't from New Jersey.
I listened to whatever the Pete and Pete episode. We're the most obnoxious about New Jersey in that episode that we've been in a really long time. And I want to apologize, but not apologize, basically.
Yeah. That's how I feel about being from Jersey in general. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Yeah. So we are discovering that, or being reminded that Dawson and Joey are out of touch because they have been taking some distance because Dawson wants to take some distance. and they don't know what's going on in each other's lives. They don't know. He somehow doesn't know that she's starting a whole business with her sister, which is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know that the random woman that he met in a strip club is like gone. That whole Eve thing, I'd forgotten about it. I was like, Jesus Christ. This show takes some big fucking swings.
One of the big things this show is about is how none of these people are actually friends. Like,
yeah. I have other things to say about that, but they're based on like the later episodes that I'm watching now. So because the film that she wants to rent is out, Dawson tells her that he somehow got permission to make a documentary instead of write a paper.
Did you go to school with these kids? I went to school with these kids.
That were like proposing other things other than writing papers.
And were getting away with doing whatever they wanted for
Have I talked about the interpretive dance thing yet? I feel like I have.
I think you have, but remind me.
I had a friend in high school who we were supposed to memorize the Gettysburg Address, and one of my friends didn't do it, and she asked if she could do an interpretive dance instead, and the teacher said yes. I don't know. I don't think she probably got a very good grade on her interpretive dance, but
like whatever.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
There was a group of kids that I went to school with. They were great kids, but they were all they were like a bunch of, except they were not annoying, but a bunch of Dawsons where it's like they were always making films in their, in their basement. And
see, we didn't have, this is going to age me. We didn't have really a lot of access to video cameras.
Right. Yeah.
We had film cameras, but we didn't have video cameras.
That's a really good point. Yeah. We were like,
you're at the vanguard of like home video options
where they were like affordable enough that the parents would let their kids run around with them, at a certain age. But yeah, they were always every year, like finding some way to, so this was really familiar to me.
Yeah.
But also, what does the principal, I have so many questions about Principal Green, because why? And also, did your principal teach a class?
No, of course not.
That's not a thing.
Maybe it is. I don't know, but it wasn't in my school.
I went to a handful of schools because we moved a little bit when I was a kid, and none of mine, listeners, if you had a principal who taught a class, please let us know, because this is,
I know.
What are we, and like we have a film, well, I guess it's because it's for a history class, so it doesn't matter that we have a film teacher, but like,
we had gym teachers teaching health class. I feel like there's got to be some schools where like, because many principals started out as teachers, so like maybe there was true. A desperate need for a history teacher randomly or something.
Right.
Anything can happen in these small Massachusetts Cape towns.
That's a very good point.
There's like only so many people. Some people have to do double duty.
And with every teacher having to leave because they have an affair with a student.
I mean, if they would stop sleeping with their students, it would be a lot easier. Like just a little tip, a little recommendation.
Just staffing alone.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So she jokes that he's ripping off Blair Witch because he's making a film about Witch Island, Capeside's own legendary scary story about witches. Mm-hmm. And so the island is supposedly once hosted the living quarters of 13 Capeside girls accused of witchcraft and sentenced to be banished there by the town fathers and church elders, and is now a park maintained by the Capeside Historical Society.
13, of course.
Yes, of course. And so because they're studying the Salem witch trials and the Crucible, this is sort of his answer to having to write a paper. I do admire trying to get out of writing a paper. Like, I know that you were an English major, but like some of us would prefer to make an art project than write another paper.
I mean, yeah.
I did that in grad school. I had a professor who was like, you can write a 5-page paper or you can make a project. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not writing a paper.
I always gave the option to do something.
Yeah.
It's because I wasn't a regular professor. I was a cool professor.
Yeah.
More often than not, those students wanted to write the paper. I think it stressed people out to not do the most,
because they don't know how it's going to be graded.
Yeah.
It's much more clear how you would grade a paper than like an art project.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to just point out that this is when Jen had a bad haircut. I really don't like this look that she rocked for like most of season 3.
I know.
It's not good. She's such a pretty, I sound like such an asshole. She's such a pretty girl. She shouldn't cut her hair. I don't think that's true. Cut your fucking hair. Do what you want. Shave your head. I don't care.
Well, and you were saying too off mic that if only she would smile
Yeah,
more.
exactly. She needs to wear more dresses. No. It's just a bad haircut. It's not that it's short. Yeah. It's a bad haircut.
This show has a real track record of doing people dirty.
This was also the part of the show where Dawson had his little like butt hair. What?
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? The little like the bangs that look like a butt. Yeah.
They do look like a butt.
I know. That's why I said
Dawson, that. I think only has... Is season 5, is this hair better?
It's better.
Is it just short?
It's definitely better. Yes, he looks more like a normal person. Yeah.
But it really takes them years to get his head right.
So now we immediately start getting the parallels to the actual film at this point, right? We get the interviews with the shaky cam, with the like overlay on the screen, with the like recording. It's so all of the interviews they did with people about Ellie Kedward and Blair Witch. Mm-hmm. But in this case, they're interviewing his mom.
It's fully inappropriate as usual.
Yeah, oh God. They interviewed the principal. Yeah, Gail lets Dawson know that may have been the first place that she and her husband, his dad, had sex, which no one wants to know.
No, nobody. Least of all.
Yeah.
Poor Dawson.
Yes. We also get...
no wonder he's so weird and repressed about sex.
I mean, it's obvious. It's a straight line. But we get Jen's very predictable reaction to the story, which, she says, which is a buzzword for a free woman. She also says, I would have been so burned at the stake right now.
I love... Okay, so this scene I actually want to spend a little time with because Jen's such a cliche, but I love her. Yeah. And she's the only one I feel like who... She and Pacey are like the personality of the show. Mm-hmm. There's one moment where she says like I would have so been burned at the stake because Joey says something like
she's still being slightly mean to Jen occasionally. She's about
right, but I think we're supposed to think that like they're actually friends now, so she's allowed to because like Jen doesn't seem offended. She just kind of throws it back, and then Joey is sort of like laughing when she turns to Dawson there, and so I think like. Joey still can't help but be rude to Jen, but I guess we're supposed to think that it's coming from a kinder place now.
Right. Yeah. This is also where we see there's a Wonder Years reference. Pacey says Kevin and Winnie taking those first tentative steps to the Wonder Years. Gotta love it. We get some...
I love that everybody else is tired of them, too.
Oh. Yeah. We get some really, really like direct meta commentary from Pacey, where he talks about how the smartass sidekick never gets the girl, and he breaks down why it's good that he and Jen never got together. She says like, I thought Dawson was good at deconstruction because he's just been like breaking the whole thing down. We don't need anything from each other. We're on a level playing field. Like this whole thing.
They keep telling each other how not attracted to each other they
repeatedly throughout the episode. Yeah. Which weirdly I believe. Like it just seems like they're like, yeah, you're just not my thing.
Yeah, it's so funny because we'll get to it later, but they have such a weird kind of chemistry. Like I wouldn't say they don't have chemistry. I think they do. Right. I just don't think it's romantic.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. We get a bit of Andie here. Could we just leave Andie out of this conversation?
Well,
this whole
they
subplot.
Should have left her out of the episode. I've been thinking about it. This episode works so much better
without
right. It's not quite a bottle episode, but one where they get on the island, they stay on the island, and we come back to them in that classroom. Yeah. But it's either they didn't have enough for the island, or now I think Andie gets bumped up to series regular in season 3, and I'll bet contractually is my guess.
Yeah, that she had to be in the episode. But God, that whole subplot is just ridiculous. B-plot. Yeah, it's like I often feel bad being annoyed with Andie because she does have like a more serious plot to begin with, and then once she's quote unquote okay, they just turn her into this really annoying like.
And I think I blocked out a lot of it because I always think of myself as an Andie supporter. And I do
in the beginning,
general,
there's a good reason. They just turn her into this
really,
like flat, like goofy character.
Fuddy-duddy.
Yeah. It's really disappointing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is post cheating on the PSATs, so she's trying to like make up for her discretions. But we're just going to not talk about Andie, I think.
The only thing I would like to talk about is one of the infractions she gets somebody for is that his sideburns are too long.
Yeah.
And that guy is in like a full polyester suit, I think.
Yeah. He looks like he came out of Freaks and Geeks.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Well, one of the other ones is a guy has a fucking full locker of porn. just covered in porn in his locker.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah. We have another this episode. The number of tortured conversations between Joey and Dawson
aren't they so tired?
They're so exhausting.
And I don't understand the like back and forth of we'll find our way to each other.
Right.
Like, what are they? I'm obviously not team Joey and Dawson. I'm surprised every time I remember that there were and are people who are Dawson's girl. I sent you a TikTok.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The other day.
Yeah.
I can't explain this, but I know I'm right. If you're a Lucas girl, then you're a Jess girl, then you're a Seth Cohen girl, then you're a Pacey girl. If you are a Nathan girl, then you are a Logan girl, then you are a Ryan girl, and then you are a Pacey girl. Because nobody is a Dawson girl, and if you're a Dawson girl, then something is wrong with you. Joshua Jackson is the only one to transcend, and that is the answer. Thank you. Good night.
It just seems so forced that it's like, find your way back to each other. What is
you're standing in the same place?
You're literally like, there's nothing. You're teeny, like,
and I remember, I do remember being a teenager and everything feels 10 times more tortured than it has to be. And everything like in your brain feels like it's this sort of dramatic Shakespearean tragedy or whatever.
Right.
But like, this episode reminded me of how much of season 3 was just fucking exhausting about that piece of it.
It does make the contrast with Jen and Pacey kind of refreshing. Though,
yeah.
that they're like,
thank God. That was, at least they're like fun and, alive. I just noted real quick that Joey's not good at setting up a tripod. I don't know what she was doing with it. It just really bothered me.
I know she's not the filmmaker, but she's been
helping. She should know how to set up a fucking tripod.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is where
I'm not a musician, but I can run a cable. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. This is where the interview with Grams comes in, who refers to them as harlots.
She's my favorite character.
I know. I love Grams. I love Grams. She, of course, doesn't approve of the black arts.
Is she holding a knife? I think she
might be.
A knife
she's in the kitchen
for
doing
no
something.
Reason. Yeah. Just to look menacing.
Yeah.
She's the best.
We get Bessie holding the mysterious child that comes and goes, talking about her remembrances of Witch Island. I don't remember exactly what she talks about. This, I think, is also where we get the kids doing the conspiracy theories about how it's like the government, which I thought was really great. But then we go to the boat to take them to the island. He paid some dude. That guy, one of the best moments in that whole episode is when Dawson asks if he can film the guy. And the guy is like, only if I can film you. I'm making a documentary about all the people making a documentary about Witch Island.
Very funny. Yeah, it's really good.
It's such a...
And again, pretty quick for the show, because that's such a thing.
I wonder if there's a way to find out if like the visits to the Pine Barrens ticked up after Blair Witch, because they had to have.
Sure they did.
Yeah, because Jersey Devil is like, we've talked about this. It's very close to all of that. He's also wearing a shirt that says "My parents disappeared on Witch Island, and all I got was this stupid T-shirt."
It has never occurred to me that I need that shirt.
You do need that shirt, absolutely. Wow. But he warns them not to get stuck out there past dark.
Of course, because you need, some.
He also has some very Yellow Jackets antlers on the prow of his boat.
Oh, yeah.
I really would love to see, though, his documentary on the documentaries being made about Witch Island. Like, I need that to be actually made. So they arrive at the island. There's the sign that to me had just a slight, maybe just because my brain is poisoned by New Jersey, like a slight reference to the Welcome to Hell sign at the asylum that I used to break into. We have our bright-eyed tour guide.
Wendy.
Yes, Wendy. There's a gift shop. Jen relatably is like, oh, I love a gift shop. I also love a gift shop.
Totally. And also Pacey is immediately concerned with snacks because he's like the Bart Simpson of this show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. We have that first conversation with Jen and Pacey about in the in the gift shop with the spell that she's going to try to cast because they have no attraction to each other. Mm-hmm. And he says, they're talking about how they're not attracted to each other. And Pacey says something about how, obviously she's very attractive, but not his whatever. Mm-hmm. And she says the same about him. And he says, I'm brooding and comely. I was like, what a way to refer to yourself.
He's so funny.
They go to the cemetery, of course. And Joey being the hyper, she did brilliantly on her SATs, so she notices that there's only 12 graves,
so
not 13.
Can count to 12.
Yeah. The 13th body was never found. She was either a witch or her lover came and got her. They don't know.
Right. And now we get set up with who are our romantics, who are our realists.
Yep. Yep.
Who believes in what?
Yep. Dawson's filming Joey this whole time like a fucking creep. It reminded me a little bit of Love Actually. Have you seen it? You've seen it. Mm-hmm. Everyone's seen it. Where the guy is filming his best friend's wife.
To think it's
romantic and not
it's
creepy.
Romantic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why they put this hat on Joey?
Oh God, that hat. That's not a good hat. It's like a knit bucket hat.
And they're having some of the most serious conversations that these two ever have, and she's wearing that stupid fucking hat. It's so funny.
It's a really bad hat.
Some bad hat, Harry.
I just wrote down, I am not drinking anything out of a wooden vat. I can't believe they're drinking something that they found in a gift shop that was in a barrel. Yeah. But they want to go to the church. Wendy never goes in the woods. Never. You don't go in the woods. But if you want to, there's a map in the gift shop that looks like a treasure map from like a kid's game. Jen makes a comment about them being irritating, and I was like, yeah.
Girl,
agreed.
You're right.
Agreed. So they get to the church, and I wrote, I'd hang out in that church.
Yeah,
seems cool. Reminded me of all the places I snuck into as a kid.
Yeah, not the scariest church.
Yeah, seemed a lot of candles. Just so many candles. Somebody robbed a Yankee candle and just covered it.
Also, whose job? I guess Wendy's to light those candles every day.
I guess, but at some point, our teens light those candles, and I want to know who had a lighter. Probably Jen. Actually, answered my own question.
100% Jen has a lighter.
Yeah,
she's trying to quit, but she still likes to carry the lighter around just in case. You never know.
They find out
it helps her feel like she has control over it.
Right. There's some plaques that tell us some more about the background. The townspeople built the church to bring God to the teens, but the teens teased the minister who came so much that he stopped coming. Jen says she can hang with those girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Pacey's off on a hunt for the perfect tree to pee against. There's another plaque that is a little more disturbing that talks about how men would come to the island and treat it like a brothel.
They're like a little. I don't know that it would have been appropriate for them to spend a lot of time talking about the sexual assault of these.
They could have just left it out.
But I was just going to say, we don't need it at all because the way they kind of just.
No, I know. It's rough. Almost like this very casual nod to like, either you take the history of the Salem witch trials as a very light inspiration and just run with it, or you actually try to deal with some of the more horrible parts of that type of persecution. But they're just like, oh, let's just throw that in.
Well, just a little nod.
Yeah. Right after that, my notes got blah, 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 their relationship.
Jodie, it's so much.
Joey and Dawson.
It's always too much in the show, but it's so much in this episode.
Yeah, this is like the most angsty, not maybe the most angsty, but one of the most angsty periods of time. But I think the only time really worse than this is after she and Pacey hook up and Dawson is like trying to kill people in a sailing race. Like, it's just... Yeah.
I just laughed so hard. I pinched a nerve in my back.
Oh no. Oh no. That's what you get for the avatar beginning to this meeting.
You're right. I really messed up the feng shui of this whole event.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I think I'm back.
But yeah, they talk way too much about their relationship. I wrote none of it down.
They've spent more time talking about their relationship than they were ever in a relationship.
Oh, so much more. Not even close.
Constant.
Yeah, not even close. We find out that the boat guy is leaving. He's not. It's before he has to leave before dark.
Right.
Can't stay, obviously. So they can't find Jen and Pacey, so the boat guy leaves and they're stuck on the island. And what Jen and Pacey are doing is having a conversation in the woods about how casual sex is good and love is bad. Which is like, to me, it's so hard to watch teenagers talk like this, even though I talked like this when I was a teenager. Right. As a full adult now, I'm like, these are children. They should not have these conversations. This is weird. But
I blame Joey and Dawson both in the show and out of the show, because you listen, if you're friends with Joey and Dawson and you listen to these idiots have these conversations, you're going to swing, your pendulum is going to swing way the other way, even if you don't fully believe it.
Yeah.
And I also think for the show's sake, they're like, if we're going to let these two drips be so drippy all the time, we've got to give our viewers some people who are a little...
Yeah. A little bit more like self-aware of like what reality actually is like.
Right. But they're still, as Pacey tells us, still so hyperverbal. It's just a different, a different thing.
Yeah. In the gift shop, Joey finds Mary's diary, edited by Wendy. Seems like Wendy just kind of lives in the back of the gift shop.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because Boat Guy, who doesn't get a name, is so insists on getting off the island, but Wendy's...
But is he?
Right. Well, we'll see.
I know. So we hear a bell tolling. They all collect at the church.
This.
Yeah, there's no bell. I like it too. I like when there's like these nods to classic horror and the moments where you put aside all of the relationship bullshit that's in the periphery and just focus on the classic horror story tropes.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's so many candles. So many candles.
Yeah, it's a full fire hazard.
Yeah. Joey apparently stole the book from the gift shop and is reading it to Jen. They find out that this is the day of the fire.
Have like a shoplifting sub, like
she should.
That's not, or she should. It doesn't. It seem like that would make sense, but I don't think they do. One in the show. It just feels like
it feels like something they would totally do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They realized from the diary that she lifted that it's the same day that the fire happened.
Again.
Like
so
200 plus years later.
Yep.
It's so funny how all of this stuff is so intertwined, because we see shots of the church from outside in the woods and I'm like, Yellow Jackets, like just like these little, who's watching them? They fall asleep in the pews. Well, Dawson and Joey do. Pacey and Jen are having another conversation in the corner about whether or not they should have sex and when. And apparently it's now, while their friends are sleeping in a haunted church. Should I take my pants off?
Should I take my pants off?
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like the best time to start this.
Yeah. He has a perfect...
his delivery there is great.
When he says, because it's like, I think it's in that same scene where he's like, where Jen's kind of like questioning whether or not now's the time. He says, all I know is that in November of 1999, 4 hyperverbal teenagers wandered off into the woods on Witch Island to film some ridiculous documentary for history class. And 8 hours later, 2 of them started making out.
Yeah. It's a great line. It is a great line. But then suddenly, all hell breaks loose.
It is like sudden.
Yeah.
It almost feels like horror movies punish the teens who have sex.
What?
But I know.
What?
I know.
It's almost like that's a trope that we've seen 1,000 times that maybe they're commenting on.
Because all they've done is kiss.
Right.
Pacey does not take his pants off.
No, but he's planning on it. So might as well punish him ahead of time.
Exactly.
Everything's on fire. Suddenly writing on the walls is glowing. Like if there's a black light on it. Just like makes very little sense. Everyone's yelling, the door won't open. And then there's a huge fireball.
we'll wait to the end of the episode, but there's a huge fireball.
Mm-hmm. And then it all just stops.
It all just stops.
Yeah. And they can then open the door. They all run out. And they run to the boat. And it doesn't actually seem like they were very far from the boat. But
no, I don't think so.
This seems like a very small island, actually.
Yeah. And the boat is there, which is peculiar because boat guy left.
Supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
So they get on the boat. They run back across, or they boat back across to the mainland. And then we flash back to the classroom where they're showing the film. And Dawson's saying it's a love story, actually. And the island embodies the turmoil of the whatever.
It's so funny. It's that they treat him like this hopeless romantic, but also he's so annoying and not actually.
He's such a fake nice guy.
He's such a fake nice guy. Like,
he's the guy that like is like, but I'm being really nice. Why aren't you having sex with me? Like,
but not actually wanting to have sex.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Why aren't you just letting me treat you however I want to treat you at any given moment?
Yeah, because I'm a romantic.
Mm-hmm.
But then one of the students in the classroom spots two people standing on the dock, and he enhances very CSI, really, but it doesn't work. It's just static, and like somebody that looks like they're wearing a very old timey hat.
Yeah, there are two like vaguely male and female shaped blobs on the end of the dock.
Yep.
William and Mary.
Right, of course. Yeah. Or Wendy and Boat Guy. And I think we end with is it Joey and Dawson in the bedroom watching, or no? What is it? They're having a conversation about
That's
I thought that's what I remembered. Is it we end in Dawson's bedroom with them watching?
Yeah, and he apologizes to Joey.
Right.
And they have this friendship for granted.
Yeah. And they have sort of a joking version of the conversation they've been having about how he's naive and she is a cynic, and
they're both 17 years old.
Yes. And then
not
there's
even yet, I don't think. Right.
I don't think
Season
so.
3.
And then there's Joey says, "This is one X file we're never going to close," which I thought that was a fun little touch at the end.
Yeah, especially because producer Alex Ganza is an X-Files producer.
There you go.
So that's a little
cross promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you leave out the Andie stuff. You do a little bit less of the relationship nonsense between Joey and Dawson, and this is a really great episode.
I think so too.
You know, I mean, I fully enjoyed watching it again. I just wanted to fast forward the Andie stuff because it just doesn't do her justice at all.
It's just, it doesn't do anything for anyone. And it really does mess with the fun of the spoof.
Yeah.
To break that by going back to school and they're all trapped on the island. It just doesn't make narrative sense at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Or structural sense. Either way.
Yeah. But I feel like I think this was intentional that we did this way, but like, it's still when I discover things that cross over or are referenced from one sort of TV or movie to another, I'm always like, this is the Red String on the Wall podcast, because it's like, oh, this is from this thing, that's from that thing, this commented on this, like, oh, we talked about this version of that in another thing, and like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we get to put a couple little more pins in
throw a few more pins on the corkboard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Our own little
Here's
Misty.
my question.
Yes.
If it's Wendy and Boat Guy.
Oh, we're going to discuss the facts of the case. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we need to, because have they rigged the church with some really impressive pyrotechnics?
Yes.
That is my take. Shoot a fireball out, but not catch the church on fire.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Asked and answered.
It's the 90s. I think it's possible. I think that it's like a haunted house that they've created.
Okay.
It's not like a real fireball. It's like projection of some kind. And they've been woken up from a dead sleep. So they're kind of groggy and yeah.
Okay.
It's haunted house pyrotechnics. And then they have some costumes that they put on to stand and watch them leave.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That's my take.
I mean, it's gotta be, obviously.
Yeah.
But also...
Unless the witch story is real.
Right.
You never know.
Do we think Wendy's the witch, and that's why she doesn't need to have a home to go to?
She doesn't age. She just exists on the island and floats around. Yeah.
Wendy and Mary are basically the same name.
Okay. If you say so.
You flip the W upside down.
Yeah.
E and A is basically the same letter.
Oh,
R and N, they're basically the same too.
Okay. Sure. If you say so.
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay. That's fine. So what background information did you want to fill us in on about this episode?
Yeah, season 3 is a real kind of turning point. We talked a little bit about it when we watched the pilot, that season 3 is between season 2 and season 3, Kevin Williamson leaves, and they bring in, like I said, Alex Ganza, who is also has ties with the X-Files. And this episode is sort of the one where they finally put their foot down. Not the witch islandness of it, but the Jen and Pacey hooking up was apparently a real issue for the cast of The Creek. And so first I'm going to read a little bit from a review, a little bit from an article that was released in July of 99.
Okay.
In Entertainment Weekly. Dawson's Creek will cut back on its scandalous plot lines.
Oh, scandalous.
Yeah, this is by Joe Flint. If Dawson's Creek seemed more like Melrose Place last season, what with Dawson going on a drinking jag, his dad going after a younger woman, Pacey's girlfriend Andie going wacko, and the teens' hangout going up in flames, fear not. As the show heads into its second full season, the plan is to go back to its less melodramatic roots. It will definitely return to a first season sensibility. Dawson will have something to say instead of the cast reacting to bigger than life plots. This is when, I'm sorry, I misspoke a second ago. Williamson leaves between seasons 1 and 2. Ganza comes in at season 3.
Okay.
So there are a lot of, like, the first 3 seasons of this show change hands a lot.
Yeah.
And so he says that he thought it was getting too soapy. And so he left. Of course, while trying to stay the Keeping It Real course, they'll have to find a way to write in teeny bopper Britney Spears, who's set to splash into the creek this season.
That never happened, thankfully.
No. Interesting. I was 13. It was 105 years ago, so I don't remember that being part of the, like, creek conversation.
Yeah.
But apparently, yeah. So that's from 99. And then in 2018, Vanity Fair did a look back inside the thrilling, chaotic writer's room of Dawson's Creek. And so then, just as the show hit its 3rd season, everything started to fall apart. So Alex Ganza comes in. They have all that weird, like I was saying, like, soap opera stuff. Eve is a really good example.
Oh,
that, like,
yeah.
Weird femme fatale for some reason on a show that has no business doing that kind of thing. And this is from the Vanity Fair article. Meanwhile, the actors were also unhappy with their storylines, especially an arc that involved Jen and Pacey hooking up, and they went straight to the network to complain. After production shut down, Ganza was out, so I don't think he made a full season.
Wow.
The network then tapped 28-year-old Berlanti, one of the few writers who stuck around after Williamson made his exit, to be Dawson's new showrunner. So that's when you sort of feel things shift back, because they go with somebody who's been there from the beginning.
Right.
But it is... Season 3 is tough.
Yeah. It's uneven is what it is. It's like there's hints of what it was before. There are some wild swings. But
you can tell they're just, like, not sure what they're doing yet.
Yeah.
Or what they're doing. Not even yet, because season 1, for all of its issues, it has a point of view, and I feel like it knows what it's trying to be at that point.
Yeah.
And it loses the plot a little bit. But I think it comes back around, right?
It does. There's definitely still some, like, wild swings later on. I just watched one of them. The mugging episode.
Oh my God.
In season 5.
Incredible.
It's wild. Fucking wild. So they do still have some episodes where I'm like, whoa, who wrote this? Where did this come from?
I feel like teen dramas in the 90s especially, like...
I mean, Dylan's girlfriend was blown up in 90210. So, you know, this was a thing.
Yeah, this stuff happens.
Yeah.
I also, this is what I was thinking about this morning with this episode in particular, is like, I don't know that you get a Witch Island episode in 2024 if you were doing this show and it was like a streaming 10 episodes. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, The Bear has Thanksgiving. It's not the same thing, but like they still are doing that. Like for the prestige TV stuff, they're still doing these sort of pull out bottle episodes, or not bottle episodes, but like specific
that's true.
tributes and things. I think depending on the show, I think we could still have it, but there is sort of a lower stakes to it when it's the 90s and all of these shows are getting 22 episodes a season.
Exactly. You can kind of do
one weird episode is more of a treat than like like with the bear, where everybody complained about the birth episode,
right.
Because it was like, why are we focusing on this one person for this episode when she's not a main character and we only have 10 episodes or whatever it is. I actually, when I was doing a very, very small amount of research last night, I found a message board from like 2004 or something. And somebody was complaining. It was only like 5 years after this aired, but was complaining about the fact that Jack wasn't in this episode.
Yeah.
It's like the whole point was the four of them trying to bring the four of them back together.
Exactly.
So, which means Andie shouldn't have been in it at all.
So weird.
Yeah. But I mean, I love a sort of a romp, and I think that it's kind of a shame that I didn't want Pacey and Jen to get together, but I don't think it's like such a horrible thing to have some lightness and like a sort of like a teen attempt at like an adult type of relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was funny. I wasn't like horrified by it. I would have been if they were like, let's have a serious relationship come out of this, but like I think it fits the sort of personalities that they've built for those two characters for them to be like, let's try this. Oh, maybe not, you know.
And I think with these shows, you have to mix everybody up.
Yeah.
Everybody has. And so the fact that they found a way to put these two together in a way that felt a little more honest for the two of them.
Yeah.
I really like.
I mean, there is a scene at the end, isn't there, with the two of them when Pacey's at the video store that we forgot to mention, where he's like asleep and she comes in and they're like, he's like, she's convinced they should still do this. He's not sure. And that he's easily convinced that they should still do it. But then he's like, she's just looking at him and he's like, right now? She's like, no, I'm tired. It's like they don't want to actually commit to it.
Yeah. And they like set their ground rules, and then he's like, should we kiss?
Yeah.
And she says that's too intimate, so they shake on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun little contrast to the insane melodrama of Joey and Dawson, which was getting exhausting in this episode.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Creek. I'm still in it. I've got another season and a few episodes left.
It's funny. I can't believe it.
I can't either. This is probably the most shocking thing to come out of this whole podcast for me, is that I'm still watching fucking Dawson's Creek of all things.
I know we have our schedule kind of settled, but there is a part of me that feels like maybe we need to record a bonus episode when you're done with the Creek that we release like on a Friday.
I think we do. Just like a recap of the whole thing.
For folks who have watched.
Yeah.
They can skip it if not.
Yeah, I have a surprising number of friends now that I've started doing this that have told me they watched Dawson's Creek and were really into it.
Oh, surprising. Okay.
Surprising because they're my age. It's the wrong time frame, guys. But some of them are younger, which made sense. So we have our next episode, I think.
Hold on, we have a little bit of Yellow Jackets news before we get into what we're watching next week.
We have a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Got another casting.
They're just going to keep throwing new people in the cast. We're never going to get the season. It's just going to be like just more people.
I know.
Look, we got this person. We got Joel McHale. Now we have Hilary Swank.
Yeah, great. What a great choice, I think.
Totally. I'm excited about it. I think, one thing the show's been very good at is pulling cast members that are like, that just seem perfect given their age, their own history in movies and TV, and like,
and
just
not always the like first most obvious choice.
No,
like Hilary Swank, of course, makes sense. But if you had me list like, I don't know that she would be the first three.
Yeah.
She'd be in the top, whatever. But
the same is true for our beloved Melanie Linsky, if you think about it before.
Perfect example.
Yeah, she's not the obvious, like if you think of classic TV and movie stars of the 90s that you would want to return to, she would be on that list, but she wasn't well known enough at the time to be at the top of it, you know, but she's perfect.
Exactly.
So
they're so good. I can't decide what I want for Hilary Swank.
I know
speculation is that she's going to be maybe Jen. I've been reading
an adult version of one of them.
That wasn't my first thought, wasn't an adult version of one of the...
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, there's also that other random...
Yeah.
What's her name? Melissa? Yeah. Could be her. If she's still alive. Yeah. It's hard to say.
I think we have to assume... in my head,
she's a big enough star that you would see her maybe being cast as one of the adult versions of one of the remaining survivors. But
she could also be, I mean, like, if we dive more into Adam, we know he has a sister, right?
That's
Is that true?
I think so.
Am I making that up?
Maybe, but it sounds right. I think he has family in Texas, and I think maybe he had a sister.
I feel like she looks like she could play his sister.
Yeah, totally.
There are a few different, we know nothing about Elijah Wood's family and his people. There are lots of things she could do.
Yeah.
But
she could be an ex-girlfriend of adult man that shows up.
Oh, wait.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me write on the show.
Now I want that. That's really good.
Yeah.
She would be great.
I know. Gotta let me write on the show. So yeah, that's exciting. From what I have read, which is very vague, they should finish filming in October. If they stick to a similar production schedule than they did for the last season, then theoretically we could get the season in December or January.
That's fast.
I know, but it was fast last time too, apparently.
January would be great for our schedule.
I know.
So if they could,
somebody needs to let them know that that would be very helpful for us.
Yeah.
Because we have ideas for January, but that would be lovely to just jump back into that. So yeah. So we'll see. There was an interview with Jason Ritter on WTF a couple weeks ago that was really lovely. I think I might have mentioned it last time we talked about how just the way he speaks about Melanie Lynskey it's the way we all feel about Melanie Lynskey. He's as big of a fan of her as we all are. But should we talk about next week?
Yeah, I think so.
So in the spirit of revisiting, shows that we have discussed in other episodes. The show that I hinted at before that has a reference to Kurt Cobain in it, My So-Called Life, has a Halloween episode that is something of a classic about the ghost of a teen boy named Nicky Driscoll that our intrepid Angela and friends attempt to contact in the middle of the night at the high school. And there's sort of a subplot about Brian being annoying and a subplot about Jordan Catalano not going to class. You know,
I was going to say not knowing how to read.
Yeah, well, not going to English class. So cutting class and Angela trying to convince him that he should go.
Okay.
So, and
what season is this? I'm sorry.
There's only one season.
Oh, wait, we
only got the one.
That's right. What episode is this?
That's a great question. It is episode, let's see, where am I? My So-Called Life. I believe it is episode 9, but let me just double check that. Yes, episode 9, just titled Halloween. The little blurb, Halloween night finds Angela in the darkened high school trying to contact the spirit of a troubled student who died in a fall from the rafters during a prank in 1963.
Perfect.
Yeah, the reason I wasn't sure that we were going to do this because I'd originally checked out the beginning of this episode and was like, I don't know. And then it just picked up and it got more and more appropriate to the conversations that we have about like references and classic storytelling and all of that. It's just, there's also an amazing scene of Angela's little sister going as Angela for Halloween, which is wonderful.
Perfect. I also really like the idea of revisiting some stuff we've already talked about, since we're building this vocabulary and we've like set up why these shows matter, and then like being able to go back and spend a little more time in these worlds I think is really fun.
Yeah. And there's also a subplot about Angela's parents and it's very a little bit of like the Dawson's parents sex vibe, which I was uncomfortable with, but is funny. So yeah.
Uncomfortable with it because you should be. You know?
Yes. Yeah, so that's next week. We will be watching Halloween from My So-Called Life. And then we've got 2 more weeks of October episodes, and then we'll tell you what's happening after that.
I can't believe.
I know. I
October's
can't either.
I mean, just for October for us is in. Today is the 2nd day of October already. It's
insane.
Just wild.
It's Libra season, baby.
No, wait. Today is not the 2nd day of October.
What is it?
We're 9 days into October already.
Oh my God. What? It's Libra season. It's the best season.
That's exciting for you.
It is exciting for me. Yeah, we'll come back next week with My So-Called Life. Where can they find us in the meantime? Do you know? Do you want me to tell you?
Where can they find us? At WatchersPodNJ on Instagram, WatchersPodNJ at Gmail. Those are the 2 places.
Yeah. And they can find me on Instagram at Jodie_Mim, JODIE_MIM. Still mostly cat photos. Some pics of furniture that I've been restoring. But yeah.
I'm at AQ Andrea Q. Not a whole lot going on over there lately, but
yeah. And we'll see you next week back in high school.